is first, we're going to do a small opening, followed by a quick, very brief recap of the moon teachings, so that it'll be refreshing in your minds. Up until that point, Edith and Marie-Claude will be translating at their computers into Spanish and French. But when it comes time, then after the recap time for questions, interaction, then they are going to come and stand next to me. And any questions that come, we will deal with the questions in that fashion, that way. The complete process, the complete moon teachings, interaction, sharing circle, should be live. We should be face to face. But of course, for these purposes of getting this information out to people around the world, that we have to use this medium. Ultimately, the teachings that you receive here at the first session and today are not the teachings in their entirety. They are a reminder. The teachings in their entirety are an oral tradition that has taken place since the beginning of time within the Kanienkehaka people. And those teachings take place within the form of the recital of the Kahnawake, the Great Law of Peace. Now we had the recital of the Great Law of Peace this past summer. And by law, we are bound to have a recital every 5 years. But if two nephews from opposite sides of the house find it within their hearts to be necessary, and should they request to have the laws of the Kahnawake recited in their entirety, then the heads of the house must accommodate that request. They are bound by law. So whenever the people feel that their constitutional rights or freedoms or power is not being exercised, the people have the right to demand their constitution be recited to them by the heads of the house, whose legal responsibility it is to represent all of the concerns and best interests of the people. And so the ideal way to learn the moon teachings is, of course, first in a direct interaction within the recital of the Kahnawake. Now, since most people of this world do not have access any longer to this basic human right, then the next best way to receive these teachings would be to request a moon teaching sharing circle. And then we would be bound by law to carry this out. Now, given the circumstances, we do not travel anywhere off of Turtle Island. What the rest of the world does not know is that it is illegal for us to leave our continent. It is illegal for us to leave our territory unless we have the complete acknowledgement and approval of our council. And so this is the way it is for all people of this world, the proper way of how to travel upon the earth. So, now that this has been stated, we will do the small opening. Everybody knows what's going to take place. Now we are just going to roll right through all of these things. For the purposes of saving time and what we're doing here today, I am not going to speak in Kanienkehaka. I have already done this morning for the entire day. What I will do now is speak in English just to accommodate and to save time. Well, Gajoka, we speak to our entire family and we ask them to hear our words now. We offer our thanks and our greetings and we call upon Sky Woman, the great body of creation. She who has given us spirit. And we ask her to watch over our words and our deliberations. We offer our thanks and our greetings to the beating heart of our Mother Earth, our Grandmother Moon. She who has given us blood. And we ask her to watch over our words and our deliberations. We offer our thanks and our greetings to our Mother Earth. She who is the mother of us all, regardless of what color we are, what language we speak, or where we come from. We are united in this common thread of that we are all family, that we are all the children of our common mother. And so we give thanks to our Mother Earth, as it is she who has given us body. And we ask her to watch over our words and our deliberations. We offer our thanks and our greetings to all the women, from the newest born baby girl to the eldest grandmother, as it is they that carry the sacred title of life giver into this world and are to be honored for the sacred duty that they perform. We give thanks to them, as it is they who give us direction. And we ask them to watch over us, all our words to be true, to watch over our deliberations. We call upon our entire family, that we speak on behalf of all of our family today, that today we truly represent creation itself, that we speak the voice of our mother today. We give thanks to all our ancestors who carried the good mind, and we ask them to help us to be strong, to be able to carry out the endeavors that we are about to carry out. We give thanks and we are happy for this great task that has been placed upon our shoulders. Because it makes us human. Because it gives us our place within this world. So that we are not like the rest of the world, chasing our tail around in circles like a dog, getting nowhere. We are happy for this great responsibility. And we say that we will fulfill our mother's wishes. We will carry out our mother's word. There are many things that I did not say here in this brief opening. But as was said, I did the opening this morning to prepare for the entire day in anything that we may face. But we do this at this time for your sake, so that it is you that will understand how these things must be done, how the sacred must be brought back into our lives. We cannot continue to walk around in this world destroying everything that we need to sustain ourselves. This identifies to us that nothing is sacred. Now we will begin just to give the brief update as to the moon teachings. Now this is what we went over a couple of weeks back during the new moon. We had a great moon ceremony, and last night we had a great moon ceremony here also. Some of you may know that on the nights before the full moon, always the night before, we have brought the moon ceremonies to the mountain in Montreal to extend our hand to the non-native population, to show them how to reconnect with our grandmother moon, the beating heart of our mother. And so last night, I have to relay to you how important, how unique it was, the moon ceremony that we had. There was only a few of us gathered. The regulars, there was maybe about 6 or 7 of us. But then there was a group of elderly people who were gathered to do a moonwalk, which we never heard of this before. That it's a bunch of non-native people in the city who gather during the full moon just to walk around. They make a little journey into the city. And so we had the honor, the privilege of them joining our circle last night. Our words became as one. Our thoughts became as one. Everyone was thinking together of our deep connection to our grandmother moon. Now these people have been doing this for some time. We've been doing the moon ceremony since 2009 in Montreal on the mountain. And this is the first time that our two trajectories had converged. And it was beautiful. As it is, each of you, that in everything that you have done in your life, that your trajectory has brought you to this point, where now together our trajectories join. It may be joined in this virtual world of the internet. But there are people that are here, that are present, physically here in the Longhouse. And I know that one day you will journey here also. And this is when we will sit together. And we will share by the council fire all of these ancient knowledges that have been passed down to our people since the beginning of time. The things that have been lost to you. The things that have been stolen from you. We have waited. All my people have waited. But it is getting late. As my people grow old and disappear, as my father did, that these knowledges disappear also with the people. That it will not be long before the poison that has consumed the rest of the world will completely engulf my people. The time is getting late. And so, we will go right into it now. This is the basics of the moon teachings. We are talking about an interaction between our eldest brother, the sun, our grandmother moon, and our mother earth. Now you, in your lifetime, have a perception of what the interactions are. But the interactions between these three bodies are not about the things that you see or believe it to be about on the surface. The relationship between these three bodies are about temperatures, pressures, and densities. And you may think that, well, temperatures create pressures and densities. And densities create temperatures and pressures. You can say that each of those create the other. This is what you are aware of in this world today. But there is so much beauty and magic to this world. So much beauty and magic that our mother has, that what you see on the surface is never what it truly is. We see this interaction having to do with humans, because we're human in the form that we are in. And so we see things from this perception. At one time, the humans, if we go back just to the 60s, we were looking at a time when the humans only reached a population of 3 billion people on the planet. And back at that time, people were concerned about overpopulation. And here we are, just a mere 30, 40 years later, where humans populate almost every part of our Mother Earth. And so, our collective knowledge is based on that current, ugly reality. That 7 billion people are altering the relationship between our eldest brother, the sun, our grandmother moon, our mother earth. humans are becoming an abominative force. Because they no longer know these teachings. And just as a side note to that, when we were here on the 15th, after we were done, here within this house, there was a non-native person that was sitting here, listening, and afterwards said to us that there is people who still have this knowledge. And I said, well, show me these people. Show me where these people are. How come these people, if they have this knowledge, are not sharing this knowledge? Because somebody's horn out there. Because if you heard somebody yelling, is there a doctor? Is there a doctor in the house? Somebody is dying. We need a doctor's help right now. There's a person right here dying on the floor. Any doctor in the house? Nobody? And then for somebody to come along after that call to say that there's still doctors in the world. Wow, that's nice. There's still people who have that knowledge. I say no. Because if they did have this knowledge, they would be rising to the call of the emergency situation that we are in. So, this is what the world no longer knows. We start from the cycle of new moon. This is where the life of our Mother Earth began. Keep in mind, the moon is the heart of the body. Like you have a heart in your body. In your body. What is the first thing that began to grow? Is there anybody present who can answer that? Answer it.
The heart.
The heart. The heart is the first thing that begins to grow within your body. Now, by examining your body, right now, can you tell that your bones are created from your heart? Can you tell that your eyeballs, your brain, is created from your heart? Can you tell that all the muscles and the joints and the skin and the organs are created from your heart? Because the fact is that when you are in fetus form, in the womb of your mother, the first thing, of course, is the act of love. The Spirit. The Spirit is put into you. And then from that Spirit, as a fetus, the first thing that begins to grow is the heart. Because bones, eyeballs, brains, organs will not grow without blood. So the blood is what is first. The heart is what is first. Science confirms that it's only about a moon or two into the, not a couple of weeks into the gestation process, that the moon pumps only internally, an internal process. And that it's about 2 weeks into the gestation process where the valve opens and it starts to pump into a body, because the body starts to form. So, the first phase of the heart is to pump out. And so, we begin in the new moon phase. This is how our Mother Earth began to grow and turn. From the interaction between our eldest brother, the sun, and our grandmother moon, heating up, the intense pressure of that heat caused our grandmother moon to begin to jostle, just like the way atoms jostle. As she began to heat up, one half of her becomes hot. The other half of her becomes cold. Now, because it's facing away from the sun. Now, when you have hot and cold directly connected to each other, you have an interaction of one pushing and the other one pulling. One contracting, the other one expanding. So you have, within that process, basically what makes like any atom jostle, you have inside of it kind of like a wrestling match going on. And as that wrestling match goes on, the heat inside causes our grandmother moon, like an atom, to start to jostle. And because of the gravitational field within our solar system, our grandmother moon is locked into a position with our eldest brother, the sun. Everyone believes she is locked into a position with our Mother Earth. She is, but it's not the primary position. It is the secondary. The primary position is her orbit with our eldest brother, the sun. And so, when she was heated up by our eldest brother, the sun, starts to gyrate and has to move somewhere, the perfect balance within our solar system causes that movement to happen in only one possible direction, which is a counterclockwise direction, around our Mother Earth. And as she went around our Mother Earth, this is where she started to weave. Just like anybody who knits or weaves. You start from nothing. But then you start weaving the fabric together. In order to weave the fabric together, you don't just sit there and think about it. You have to have a motion. You have to be in motion. And so this is what our grandmother moon does. She weaves the fabric of creation around the body. The same way that within the womb of our mother, that as the heart is beating, from the first beat, boom, pumping the blood out, the body starts to be formed. By what? By arm particles? By bone particles? No. Out of the amniotic fluid of our mother. Out of water. Water is our mother. Water is female. Water is the life-giving force of creation. And so, you know, logic tells you it is female. To auto-create. So, heats up. And again, the first action of the heart is to pump out blood. So, when our grandmother moon is heating up, close to our eldest brother, the sun. And when I say close, I'm talking about in comparisons with her cycle of new moon and full moon. So the full moon is obviously further away from the sun. The new moon is closer to the sun. Now from the far face to the far face is approximately 800,000 kilometers, or miles, one or two. Doesn't really matter, it's a great distance. You figure it out, you tell me, you post it online. So that it becomes something, not what I am telling you, but something that you know to be true. So the distance, 800,000 kilometers. Now you think of, if you were 8 steps further. Now I am talking to the people in the Longhouse here. And you could just imagine this where you are. You got a fire 10 feet away from you. Take 5 steps closer to that fire. What is going to happen to you? You're going to get hot. And when you get hot, there are different things that happen. But I will talk about inanimate objects. What happens if you take a piece of steel and you put it in the fire, heat it up? What happens to that steel? It expands. The heat causes expansion. Now what happens if you take that same piece of metal out of the heat, out of the fire, and put it into cold water? What happens to that metal? It shrinks. It expands. So here is a basic thing that is so simple to identify. But yet the rest of the world has forgotten this basic common sense knowledge. Is that when the moon is in new moon phase, being closer to the sun than in full moon phase, she's heating up. You stand next to that fire. Well, we're not going to be able to throw you right in the fire like a piece of metal. You're only going to get so close to that fire before you can't take it anymore. Before it gets too hot. And one of the indicators to you of that it's too hot is that your pores open and you begin to sweat. Now, this happens to our grandmother Moon. Her pores open and she begins to sweat. Now, by looking at this rendition, model of the moon, in the new moon phase, knowing that 1/2 of her is closer to the sun, and 1/2 of her is facing away from the sun, you know that the side closest is expanding, getting super hot. The other side is contracting. Not as much as when it is contracting in full moon phase, because it's further away. But there is still, on the face facing us, there's a bit of a contraction. On the face away from us, there's an expansion. Now imagine this ball right here, that is the moon. Imagine that it's like a balloon that we could squeeze it. Now this side is shrinking. It's getting smaller. It's being squeezed. The side facing the sun, expanding. So the side in new moon phase, the side that is contracting is acting as like it's squeezing, like something that you can squeeze it, pushing all of the internal contents towards the far side, which is super hot. Pores are open, and what happens at that time? Remember, the first phase of your heart, as you were in fetus, that pumps out the first blood. This is how it happened. It pumped out the blood, the condensation, out of the far side of the new moon phase. And that water, that blood, gets caught in the solar winds, which again is not wind, it is a solid mass. If you can picture like a surfer on the ocean, that wave is a solid mass. The whole ocean is water, but yet on the top there is waves that we can ride. It can pull us right across the ocean, as it can pull the water right across the ocean of space. So when that blood is pumped out, because of the heat, opening up the pores, and the near side to us getting cold, squeezing, forcing out on the far side, the waters that then get caught in the solar winds that are brought right back to our Mother Earth. And so this is how the blood gets pumped into the body from the new moon phase. And as she comes around over here into full moon, then the same thing is happening to our Mother Earth. She's hot, she's got condensation all over her body all the time, even in the winter time. Condensation leaving her body the same way it leaves our body. And so when the condensation leaves her body, it gets caught in those same solar winds. And so those solar winds take that water and bring it back to the beautiful face of our grandmother in full moon phase. And she catches that water. And so she continues on her beautiful journey around our mother. And as she does, her magic, the magic of our mother, is what takes place. Pressures, densities, and temperatures to create out of the same water bones, flesh, eyeballs, brains. No one can say that this is not a magical process that our mother has brought into this world for us. And this is the magical process. That as she turns from full moon phase around our mother to return to new moon, there's something that happens inside of her that you cannot see. But you can go home and do this to figure out the exact same knowledge. When you get home tonight, or when we're done with this, do this with your children. Grab them by the hands and swing them around. This happened to all of us when we were children. Somebody did it to us. It was fun. We liked it. We didn't realize that we were being taught the laws of physics about our grandmother moon. Not the laws of physics of non-native science. The true knowledge of the physics of our grandmother moon. When you do this and you swing your child around, your child is going to feel in their body a gravitational force. And that gravitational force is going to cause their legs, their feet to lift as you're spinning them around. And as their feet lift, they're going to feel inside of them the pressures going towards their feet, and their hands are going to slip almost out of your hands. You're going to have to grab on tight to hang on to each other. That is called centrifugal force. Now, when you're spinning somebody around like that, let's say you're going like this, that may be, I guesstimate it, at about 30 or 40 miles an hour. I don't know if I'm right, but it really doesn't matter. The fact is that we can experience that gravity that actually lifts our body, and we can feel the pressures in our bodies going to our feet. So we're only going about 30, 40 miles an hour. Our grandmother moon, in her rotation around our Mother Earth, travels at approximately, now you correct me if I'm wrong, 10,348 miles an hour. Maybe I'm wrong, doesn't really matter. We know that the rate of rotation around our Mother Earth, of our grandmother moon, is very fast. It's over 10,000 miles an hour. So, at 10,000 miles an hour, when you're in full moon phase, keep in mind that the sun is on the face facing us. So it's heating up and it's expanding. That's what makes it able to receive the waters that come off of our Mother Earth and to penetrate her body. And as it's heated up, the centrifugal force allows that water to go through our grandmother moon, right up until the halfway point. The halfway point, it can't go any further in full moon, because in full moon, the side that is furthest from us is super cold and freezing. It's frozen. So you put water in there, and let's say we turn it upside down. The bottom is frozen, pour water in there. Where's it going to go? It ain't going nowhere, because the bottom's frozen. So you got water that's staying in there, but that is under a high pressure. Now, people in the medical field can identify the importance of that. Because when they do, no, you can't. She's got to sit down. The people in the medical field, when they want to separate blood, they put it in a centrifuge for a reason. So people in the medical field can easily understand this process. Spin something around, what happens to all the impurities inside? They scatter. It's under high pressure. So as our mother is turning at high pressure, the impurities in the waters are being cleaned up. So, as she's coming around, remember that half of her on the far side is frozen. So as she comes around, that frozen side starts to come into view of our eldest brother, the sun. And it starts to heat up on the far side. And the near side, at the same time, starts to get cold, contracts, so that that water cannot go back out the door that it came in. The same way that in your heart there are what they call lunar valves. Even the medical field refers to the valves, the doorways in your heart, the entrance and the exit. It is the knowledge of Sky Woman, she who is given a spirit. It is the knowledge of our grandmother Moon, the beating heart of our Mother Earth, she who has given us blood. It is the knowledge of our Mother Earth, she who is the mother of us all, she who has given us body. And when you know this, she who has given us spirit, she who has given us blood, she who has given us body, and then all the women from the newest born baby girl to the eldest grandmother, as it is they who give us direction. When you have these things, then a man will understand his place in this world. A man will know that he is not the primary, that the laws of creation is what man has broken ever since his self-glorification process of creating God in his image. And from that instance, when he created God in his image, he had to destroy our mother and all knowledge that goes with her. And this is where the people of the world are today. Without knowledge of the reality of creation. And anybody in this world can say, oh, there's people who have knowledge. Like we said earlier, there has already been a call. There is an emergency. Is there a doctor in the room? There is a person dying right in front of us. And you don't answer? And then you leave me to have to fix the problem? And then you come along later and say, oh, there was doctors in the house still? It is a lie. There is a lie that everyone on this earth is guilty of perpetuating. And that is through the self-inflicted state of psychosis, of cognitive dissonance. It is not something we are not aware of. It is something that we choose. Every individual has chosen. And you can say that it's not me. This was done hundreds of years ago. You can take that cop out and continue to be the problem. Or else you can realize that if you can continue to conduct yourself in the exact same way that everyone has conducted themselves for the past 2,000 years, then you make the conscious choice to be the problem upon our Mother Earth. And the problem is the rape of our mother. And for men, if you continue, you rape your own mother. You are guilty of raping your own mother. And it is easy for people to do this today because of the cognitive dissonance that they have inflicted upon themselves, so that they will no longer see our grandmother Moon and no longer have access to this truth, so that they can no longer be charged with the rape that they are committing upon our Mother Earth. There is a lot more to the Moon teachings. I know you have heard this before. And for those of you that participated in the preliminaries, it was said that come to this event, that we would include all the elements of the moon teachings. But I have to tell you that because of the way that we're doing it, it's very hard for me to concentrate because of the translation that's going on. While they are translating, I have to adjust my mind, and I can't focus on just doing the moon teachings. So we knew that on the 15th, I had said that, well, there's a lot of stuff that I left out. And right now there is a lot of stuff that I am leaving out, I know. But it must be of the oral tradition. You must find your way here. And when you find your way here, you will receive it the way that it is meant to be conveyed. Okay, so right now then, we could either close and finish, or if anybody has any questions, interactions. So right now, is there anybody online, or is there anybody present who has any questions or anything to state? We'll deal with questions first, and then we will go into the response. So maybe you are already set in your head what you want to respond to. We'll ask you to refrain from that. And right now, let's just deal with questions. If there's no questions, we can move on. So we'll take a minute. There's one question here.
I have kind of an idea what we do when the full moon, when the moon is full, when the moon is a new moon. I know that the new moon is female and the full moon is male. And there's certain ceremony that occurs during those two phases. But when the moon is not in full moon and it's not a new moon, and all around the year, what is the ceremony that goes along with her cycle?
Okay, there is the two definite cycles that you point out. Everybody knows. New moon, that is female moon. This, a little bit of information about this would people just, I don't know, for some reason they think, or they don't think. For some reason people think that the full moon is when the moon is biggest, when the moon is largest. But it's not. Because when something's cold, it's shrinking. The new moon, which you can't see, is the biggest. Actual biggest moon, when the moon is bigger. Now there is in the non-native world, the science identifies when the moon is closest to us as being the biggest moon. But that doesn't make it biggest. What makes it biggest is when the moon is over here. You know when the moon is closest to us, which the non-native says that's when it's biggest? The moon is closest to us when it's over here, in full moon. And that's because it has the gravitational force pulling it towards the earth and the sun pulling it towards the sun. So they say it's biggest, but it's not biggest. It's actually smallest, it's just closer to us. So to the naked eye, it appears bigger. But in reality, new moon phase is biggest phase. New moon phase is the female phase. The full moon phase is the male phase. There's reasons for that. Again, in creation, my mother came first. I was not born before my mother. So I know. What's the primary? My mother. What's the secondary? Me. So female is primary, male is secondary. So the female in the new moon phase is when she's replenishing, when she's giving life. The full moon phase is when she's taking the deoxygenated blood, taking the bad. The male phase to remove, because the male as the secondary in this world, our primary function, our sole function is to beautify all that is female. This is our sole function. We are to do nothing else but to beautify our mother's creation, to improve it, so that, like anything, like a beautiful work of art, when you make a painting and you feel that's your expression, but then you come home the next day and you look at it and you say, I could add this to it. And you add, and you add, and you add, and you add. This is what the men of this world are supposed to do. And to do this, they are to acknowledge, and the only way to acknowledge is to know and understand the phases of our grandmother moon. You know these two, but what about these two? What about these two? Very important. These two are the lunar doors. The doors to our grandmother. This is where the door closes from being open. On the far side, it closes. And this is where on the near side, it begins to open. And then over here, the near side closes and the far side begins to open. It's like a revolving door. And this is where, for those of you in the house, you know of the Astoagoa, the Creator song, or else Sacred Sky Woman's dance. You know that each of these songs, these dances, are performed at certain times. The same way that there is a door on your house. You can use that door for one of two things. You could either enter your house or you can go out of your house. It performs a very sacred function that all the people here, everybody used to know. Everyone used to understand. This is the reason the male dominance rose up against the true power, our mothers. And they classified our mothers as witches. When the true witches are within the religions, the men that condemned the true power that our mothers had, who condemned it in the women only to steal it and for them to misuse it. To misuse it. How can you misuse a power of life? What could you do with a power of life to misuse it? There's only one thing that you can do with that power to misuse it, and to turn it into death and destruction. Where are we today? Are we at this point of the ultimate goal of male dominance being realized? To destroy all that is female. When they send the troops off to war, who are they sending? Oh, they're sending Men. Where did those men come from? Who made those men? You mothers made those men. So when your sons are sent off to war, who are they going to kill? They're going to kill your sons. Your sons go off to war to kill your sons. You made your sons. At the beginning of your son's life, when they were born into this world, you could see the physical reality. They are male. But at the beginning of your gestation process, myself, my son, this man right here, every man that has ever lived, was first created as female. That it is only, again, a week or two into the gestation process that we are appointed, selected by our great mother to be male. And she places us where we are needed to do the job that we must do. And to do that, a man must be the son of his mother, or else he is just a man of war. Okay, maybe we went too far in that answer. But it's all connected. It is. Okay, so now there was another question.
Yes. How we can use that power of life when the new moon comes and when the full moon comes or the open gates comes? How you can use it?
Well,
For transformation of the soul and the body.
this is where the ceremony, your interaction. You can say, how can I work with the power of the power of creation when my bones are growing and making me taller? How can I work with that? How can you even acknowledge, hey, my bones just grew a little bit? Nobody's even aware of that. Except when you're young and the children aren't even aware. They're just saying, oh, I hurt. I mean, my arms hurt, my legs hurt. The parents know that's growing pains. But the children would not be able to comprehend what that is. So how does one work with it? Well, if our bones are growing, the best way to work with that is to exercise them. Get them used to their muscles and what they can do, all of that. Make you acquainted with what your body is capable of. Knowledge of what you can do. And so, the same thing here. The knowledge of when the moon is here, when the moon is here, when it's there, how we work with it. That knowledge is how to keep our interaction with it is on the ceremonial level. Which is like I identified what we did last night. We did a moon ceremony last night. I pledged myself to that. There's something happening in my mind. There's something happening in my heart. I am becoming connected to her. Everybody else is not. Everybody else is in a different reality. I am pledged to her. How? Through the knowledge of these cycles that are shared with us through the ceremonies that have been handed down through us since the beginning of time. These ceremonies and this way of how to keep this knowledge is not just something that's come about by happenstance. This is by design. My ancestors, your ancestors, designed a method of communication that would be only truth. And that by truth, you could be on this side of the world, I could be on that side of the world, and any issue could arise between us, and we will know what the truth is through this process. But through the destruction of male dominance, there is no truth, there is no communication, and when there's no communication, there is uncertainty. And when there is uncertainty, and you are on this side of the world, am I on this side of the world, and what we're uncertain of is if you are going to push the button, or if I am going to push the button, that is certain death, war that will happen, guaranteed between us. Matrilineal is the only way to live in peace. There is no other way. I don't care who you are, where you are, you will say something that I will say is stupid. You will say, there's 100 ways, there's many ways to achieve peace. Show me one. Come up with one. Show one that has worked in the non-native world. There is only one way to achieve peace. And that is through truth. It no longer exists in your world. So you must grab onto the only thing that is real. What is real between all of us on the planet? If you're on that side of the planet, and I'm on this side of the planet, what is real between us? You know what is? The common thread that links all of us together. The heart pumps out the blood with the oxygen to oxygenate all within the body. The left big toe may get the oxygen first before the right elbow because of the reality of how the blood travels through the body. Main artery to our mother first, the female side, and then the male side. So the female side gets serviced first. When it comes time for dinner, our mothers eat first. But of course, you know that if you're a little boy and your mother's standing in line to eat, your mother is going to put you in front of her every single time. It is time for guys of this world to stand up and become men, and to put their mothers first. Step out of the way of the primary and put the primary first. When you do this in your knowledge of creation, I'll guarantee you that without you even realizing it, you will begin to walk proper in this world. You'll begin to talk proper. If you were a guy, the women that you talk to, their ears will be open to you. Their hearts will be open to you. But in this world, up to this second, every male is dysfunctioning under male dominance. Even if you are the most in love with your wife, your girlfriend, whoever, you are still dysfunctioning under male dominance. Our job is to free. Our job, again, is to beautify and to strengthen. We must free that which male has oppressed. This is the path of how to do it, with the true knowledge of creation. Anyways, any other questions? Anybody on one? There's a question here.
I'm trying to visualize the moon being cold on one side and hot on the other, and it's turning on itself, right?
No, the moon doesn't rotate.
Inside?
Like, the moon does not, like if this is the moon here, it doesn't rotate like that. It's always locked, one face looking at the earth.
Isn't it something rotating inside?
Inside,
Okay.
what's rotating inside is the heat source. Now if you look at from here in new moon, like I said, let's draw a line straight through the moon. Because only the face facing the sun is super hot, therefore expanding. The face facing us is cold, therefore contracting. But as the moon rotates like this, then the heat isn't from like right here. The heat turns with the face of the sun. So it's an actual inner rotation that you cannot see.
I know the cold push the heat, so that's probably what's creating the turn inside.
Yep.
But isn't it turning completely inside? Like a vortex?
Well, it turns, the moon does not have a core like the earth. Some interesting facts here. This is interesting. The moon is a quarter the size of the earth. But it's at the right distance, as you know, that it can completely block out the sun in a solar eclipse. So it is placed perfectly to be the exact same size as the sun, to perceive it. Now the surface of the sun is the exact same temperature as the core of the earth, which is the exact same size as our grandmother moon. Just some interesting facts there to know that on these different levels, our perception puts it almost at the same, like at the same size or the same, the same, it'll affect us the same way. So internally, as it goes, the only thing that rotates inside is the heat. So it's a matter of this. If my back is facing the earth, if I'm grandmother moon, I'm turning like this. So you always just see my back. So what that means is right now, the front of me is hot, and then here, the side of me is hot, and then here, the back of me is hot, and then the other side of me is hot, until the other side of my front becomes hot, until I'm right back to where that cycle is complete. So there is a rotation, but it is not a physical rotation. It is a spirit. The spirit of the interaction between the sun and the moon causing the heat. So what turns inside is the heat. When you get older, is it true? Is there such a thing as hot flashes?
I confirm.
So you know it to be true. Because this is something from the time that you were young, from the time that you got your first moon, this is what you've been doing. Cold, hot, cold, hot. The reality is, every woman on earth, it is your moons, it is your blood that powers the earth, that powers our grandmother moon. Without you, it would stop. Without you, there is no reason. Without you, we have no purpose. We have no direction. This identifies clearly to you what the purpose is of male dominance. To destroy all life. That is the ultimate purpose. Because male dominance, to dominate you, to squeeze you, to oppress you, is to get rid of you. To remove your identity from this earth. To snuff you out from creation. Why would people do this? Whose idea is it? Where this one idea has compromised all peoples throughout time, to the point of where all present 7.5 billion people are all compromised, carrying out the act of destruction. Suicide. Whose idea is it? Where does it come from? I'll say that it does not come from here. I'll say it is not human. Because us humans, we need our Mother Earth to live. We need our Grandmother Moon to live. We need you women to give us life, to give us direction. What happens when it's all, we remove the women? It just ends. So it's clear to see what is the end result. What is the design of male dominance? It's not something that has just happened. And you gotta go further in your knowledge of these things to understand why were your mothers, your grandmothers killed in the name of God by God's representatives for being witches. How is it that your God, you call your God, God, but that's the God that killed your mothers? How could that be done? Everything is backwards, upside down. It is a lie. This is what you live. You live within that ugly reality. And this is the only reason why we are in this process of sharing with you today. Not because it's going to help us. Because the rest of the world, you are on a downward spiral. You've been on the slippery slope for a long time. Truth is, you don't want to do a damn thing about it. If you ever did want to do a damn thing about it, you would have done it a long time ago. So there is a fact here. You leave me with no choice but to do this. And you may think, well, this is just some guy standing in his garage. Doing this means nothing. What it means is through the process we have taken, you can't do that, is that you and everybody else on the planet are giving me your power. You are granting me authority to do what we have to do. And you can think that, well, that's nothing. What could I do, one person? I can do this. Something that you have never seen or heard of before. I can do what you can't do. Not because I hold some special power, but because I still hold on to the original instructions of my mother. And we push our mother to the top. We have nothing to do with corruption. We push it away. And so here we are, doing what you have given me the power to do. And as we said in the beginning, this is why we are happy. The rest of the world, you are sad. You feel like you have no power. What can you do to change anything? You are just one person. you are defeated before you even begin. A Kanienkehaka does not look at what we cannot do. A Kanienkehaka looks at what must be done, and we set out to do it. And we do not stop until it is accomplished. My mother brought me into this world for the exact same reason that every other mother brought their sons into this world for. Every other son have forgotten their mother's instruction. My mother's instruction was to rid this world of male dominance and to return to Gayandawana, the balance, to our mother, not to corrupt people, to the earth. The corrupt people have no place upon our Mother Earth. You have been allowed now for long enough to go around this world destroying without correction. You are now about to face something that you will not comprehend. When a person understands this process, this interaction, what you are understanding is the exact function of the double helix of DNA itself. And then you are understanding where we fit within that. And you know this. You know that those two ladders, the double rung, the double helix of DNA. There are strands of nothing that fit in between. And there is some enzyme that takes this piece of dust out of nowhere and places it there. And if it doesn't fit, it is removed. And it goes back into the great spiral of creation to be disassembled for renewal. And so, what you may not comprehend is the stage of renewal that we are now in. And this is the reason why, the only reason, why you are hearing this knowledge that would never be shared with you. You have never heard this before. You are not going to hear this from any other native person. All the science is there. All the truth is there. But you've never heard this before. And I know it for a fact, because we have never shared it before. Because this is something that you do not share with a person that is ineligible, that is not qualified, that cannot be trusted. It is like putting a loaded gun in the hand of a baby. But we are here now because of the stage, the late stage of which we are at. And so from here, it is no longer a concern of mine. It is now a concern of yours. as to what you do from this point. So anyways, any other questions? Is there any questions online, or let's see if there's anything online. We already got a couple from here. If not, then we'll go in here.
Anybody on Zoom that would like to ask a question, you're welcome to do so. Donc, quelqu'un sur Zoom qui aimerait poser une question, c'est le petit moment maintenant. Utilisez votre...
Okay, if there's not,
Yes, Laguna de Luna. Un petit instant. 1 second. How do I do that?
It says, what can I do in my life for help our grandmother Moon? Thanks for those words.
okay, well, what everybody can do, of course, is the things that we've
Okay.
already said. Because you may think
Porque puede que ustedes piensen
that you can use this knowledge.
que pueden usar este conocimiento,
You cannot.
pero no pueden.
And you may ask why.
Y pueden que pregunten por qué.
And I can just tell you
Y yo les voy a decir
that you cannot.
que no pueden.
And you will find out.
Y ustedes van a darse cuenta.
You may try to utilize this information.
Tratar de utilizar esa información,
You will not be able to.
pero no van a poder.
I can't explain it to you any further than that right now.
Explicar más allá de esto.
Other than that, it is physically impossible
Aparte de simplemente decir que es físicamente imposible
for a person
que una persona
to be on this side of the earth in the sunlight
del lado de la tierra en la luz del sol
when you are on the other side of the earth in the darkness.
cuando están en el otro lado del mundo en la oscuridad.
What you don't understand
Lo que ustedes no comprenden
is the polarities of our Mother
las
Earth.
polaridades de nuestra madre.
The non-native,
Los no indígenas,
in the corrupt thinking of their male-dominant mind,
en la forma corrupta de la dominación masculina en su mente,
has done this.
han hecho esto.
They have come from here,
Yo de aquí,
Europe,
de Europa,
to here, to Turtle Island.
hasta la altura de la cultura,
You are corrupt.
ustedes están en la corrupción.
You cannot do that.
No pueden hacer eso.
You can think
Pueden pensar
that it's okay,
que está bien,
but in order for you to get here,
pero para que ustedes puedan venir aquí,
you must come the way that you left.
de la forma en la que se fueron.
When you walked out the door,
Ustedes se fueron de la
you must come back in that way.
tienen que regresar de la misma forma.
If you try getting into my house any other way than through my door,
Otra forma, si no sea la puerta,
it's going to be violent.
va a ser algo violento.
You're going to be breaking into my house.
Estar de hecho entrando por fuerza a mi casa.
You may not understand this.
Que no entiendan eso.
You were to come
Ustedes
this way,
de eso,
the way that you left this garden.
que se fueron de este jardín.
Because your history books
Porque sus
tell the truth
en sus libros
about our interaction.
con respecto a nuestra interacción.
And your history books record it.
Y sus libros de historia
It talks about the beautiful garden, that there was a great garden, but there was a serpent,
pero había una serpiente,
and that serpent was cast out.
serpiente fue sacada.
And when that serpent went, it was cast out with its like-minded people.
Sacada con su gente, la que cantaba.
And where they went
¿Y a dónde fueron?
was through what you know
Fue a través de lo que ustedes conocen,
as the Bering Strait theory,
hecho de ver esa teoría,
through the Aleutian Islands.
a través de las islas de la ilusión.
The Bering Strait theory is true,
Esa teoría es verdadera,
but it's not that we came this way.
pero no es que nosotros venimos para acá,
It's that you were cast out of this garden.
sacados de este jardín.
And there's only one way for you to get back in.
Solamente hay una forma.
Everything in the body,
En tu cuerpo,
every element,
cada elemento
is placed somewhere specific
está puesto en un lugar
for a very specific reason,
por una razón específica.
to keep the body alive.
Hacer que el cuerpo continúe vivo.
The functions of the people
Las funciones de la gente
are to be the organs of the body,
son los órganos del cuerpo.
to keep those organs strong and clean and healthy.
Los órganos sean limpios, en salud.
not to leave your station.
de no dejar su estación.
This is corruption.
Esa es la corrupción.
You will never see the true beings, the Ongwehuwe,
Nunca van a ver a los verdaderos seres, los muertos,
leave our mother,
que van a
leave Turtle Island,
nuestra madre, a la isla de la tortuga,
and to go to the side
para ir al lado
of where the corrupted mind is.
donde la mente corrupta se encuentra.
You will not see this.
Ustedes no van a ver eso.
You may have seen some pretend
¿Han visto
so-called Indians
de expertos que han sido llamados
travel over there.
de viajeros?
There is only one way
Y solamente hay una forma
that the Ongwehuwe
en la que los Ongwehuwe,
The true being would travel to that polarity.
a la otra polaridad.
And that is under official
Y
business.
eso es solamente bajo asuntos oficiales.
And so that day may never come,
Y ese no puede que nunca venga.
because it is impossible
Es imposible
to do official business
que se hagan asuntos oficiales
with the non-native world.
con el mundo no indígena.
When you get rid of your male-dominant corruption
Cuando ustedes se deshagan de su corrupción, de dominaciones,
that is materialized in this world in the form of democapitalism.
bajo la forma del democraticalismo,
This is democracy protecting capitalism.
que protege al capitalismo,
And the reason why it's democapitalism
democraticalismo,
is because it turns to shit everything that it touches.
lo va a hacer mierda.
Democracy
La democracia,
is a self-inflicted state of schizophrenia
esquizofrenia autoexigida.
upon anyone that participates.
Persona que participe en eso.
Because the first thing that it does
La cosa que hace
is it divides your mind. And this is what religion does to you. It divides and quarters you. This is the trick that has been done to you.
ese es el truco que ha sido hecho en ustedes.
This is where the minds of the women are subdued
Las mujeres son
into the corruption of male dominance.
la corrupción de la dominación masculina.
And how then would a woman
¿Cómo entonces una mujer
continue to allow herself to be associated with such corruption as the religions, the very religions that killed your mothers in the name of their God? I say shame on you. Any woman that is still a part of that murder incorporated that you call God. Shame on you. The mothers must rise out of this lie. Teach the truth to your children. The truth of how to be a human. And to be human, you must have knowledge of the environment in which we live in. And the environment in which we live in is an interdependent system. The way that your hands are dependent on your stomach and your eyeballs and your knees and your big toe, all interdependent upon one another. When we forget each other, when we forget that we are family, then we lose our instruction and we stray away. And this is where you are. You have walked down the path of male dominance, and there is no way out for you now. Your only way is to follow through to what your ancestors came here for. They didn't come just to get away from corruption. They came looking for truth. Don't forget, all you women around the world. Today you are screaming for equal rights. I say to you, you are crazy. You want equal rights with men? You are crazy. You have to climb down the evolutionary ladder to be equal with men. You must demand that your men pull their heads out of their rear ends and they stand up to be like men in this world and protect their life givers. Follow the original instruction. What is it? It's love. And let's look around us. Where is that love? It's not there. Because the original instruction is gone. So we are here today to fulfill one thing. And you can think whatever you want of this. This event. This knowledge sharing. It's not for you. You may think it's for you. It's got nothing to do with you. Last night, the moon ceremony, I pledged myself to my grandmother Moon to fulfill and to carry out my commitment to her, to protect and defend her. And to do that, we need a lot of power. And as one person, we have the power to get it started. But we need the power of others. And if when you make the call, telling the people that your mother is in an emergency situation, she is dying and needs your help, and you sit there and twiddle your thumbs, you grant me authority to take all the action that I see fit. And whether you know it or not, I then use your power. I don't care if you are on the other side of the world or if you're standing right next to me. I have gone through the legal process of bringing it to your attention, identifying what your actions must be, and then taking the action myself.
Yes?
I'm going to try. I want to ask, what can I do? Like, I am a woman, and I share with other women the importance of remember that we have that moon inside, and that we have the power to send information to the center of the earth, and let the seeds grow. And that seeds comes from inside of us as women. And I share that, and I try to live it in my life, but it's difficult for me because I feel that I have a lot of things inside of a lot of years of history, of pain, and I don't know how to walk my path, no? So I feel that I can do more, but I don't know what to do, and I feel that our home are devastating. I don't know to use what word, I hope you can understand my feeling. Yeah. And I feel that I have a way to help, that I have that inside, but I don't know how to take that knowledge and what can I do? I don't know. I feel like really sad and confused, and I don't know. I feel that I'm here for something, but I don't know for what. So that's my question. Yeah.
When we think of outside of our lifetime, we have to consider all things outside our lifetime. You can't look at things just from the 30, 40 years that you've been alive. What is happening to you right now is an accumulation of a multi-generational trauma. And where I'll guarantee you that if you go back in your bloodline, you're going to find a woman, maybe 5, 6 generations, maybe less, who was murdered by God's representatives in the name of God for being a witch. Now, I will say to you that you, every other woman alive today, never contemplates that to the degree necessary to understand that action. It's something in the past that you read about. And you go along your merry way. You know what I would do? If I found out that somebody in my family was murdered, I would do something about it. I don't care if it happened 200 years ago. I would do something about it. I'm going to tell you a very short story. In 2009, it was brought to our attention in the Mohawk Traditional Council that in a part of so-called Quebec, that there's a part they call the Bic National Park. And that within that park, that it is told a story that there's an island with a cave on it. And in that cave, over 150 years ago, Mohawks murdered unarmed Maliseet elders, women, and children. This is the story that they tell. Of course, I know that that story is a lie. But when it was brought to my attention in 2009, I said it's my responsibility to correct this, because I am the current day version of Mohawk. So if I want to be the best Mohawk, if there is corruption that was handed down to me, I can't accept the corruption, I have to correct it. I can't take it from one generation, just accept it in mine, and then hand it to my children. I would have to be a flaming idiot, a complete fool. I would not do that. So, we had to have counsel. We said we got to do something about this. And so I personally went and journeyed to the place. And there's a whole story to how we had to fight to get there. It was through the tail end of a hurricane. I had to paddle my little 16-foot canoe, 2-man canoe, through the tail end of a hurricane. That the rangers of the park on that day put out a notice refusing any motorized boats from being on the water. We went out. And at that time, it caused a big scare on land. The whole emergency workers, everybody, they were all geared up, ready, looking for us. And when they seen us coming to land, nobody could believe it. There was hundreds of people gathered from the community coming down to see us. We had to go through the tail end of that hurricane to get to that island. And we went to that island, and I personally carried out the ceremony of correction to fix it in the minds of the people. That a Mohawk, a Kanienkehaka, a true being, does not allow corruption, even if it is from 5 or 10 generations before. Because if it is, and it goes unaddressed, then that means that I am corrupt. And my mother did not allow me to be corrupt. She gave me law. She showed me how to apply it, so that I can take out any corruption from our bloodlines. And she showed me how to do this. How one person can take action to start, to move out of your oppression and to move into your freedom. In oppression, there is 1,000,001 reasons why you would see to remain oppressed. But there is only one reason why you must struggle for freedom. And that is for the freedom itself. Your mother didn't bring you in this world to be caged. Your mother, your grandmother, your great-grandmothers, they are the ones suffering down the bloodline. And every time they watch you accept what they died for, it is you killing them. Don't kill them. Become free of it. How you will do this is to do the very thing that your mothers were killed for in the first place. For exercising your power. And your power is knowledge of how creation grows, of how life is to interact, how your sons are to conduct themselves. Your power is in your body. Us guys, we gotta rack our brains to think about what you have naturally. You have your moons. I can only look at her and be in awe of her beauty and her power. Where you are her. You are the beauty, the power. The moon is inside of you. become familiar with what's inside of you. First, do not call it a period. This is your moon. This is a sacred thing. And when your daughters have their first moon, you gather your people, you gather your women, and you celebrate that power of your daughter rising into the ranks of womanhood as life giver. Do not fall victim. You call your moon period. I'm a guy. I never, ever in my life refer to a woman's moon as her period. Why would you? You become familiar with your moon because you, not male, only our mothers, hold the power of life and death within you. And that's where the hot and cold clashes within you. This is where you are following the path of your mother and your grandmother from hot to cold and back to give life. So you're going to renew your knowledge of these things through renewing the ceremony that your grandmothers were murdered for carrying out. So tonight, you're going to do a full moon ceremony. And as a woman, you are going to know that you are in the male realm, because that is the male moon. And that's where it is pulling away the bad, taking away what has been contaminated. And this is where you release all that has been corrupted within you. If it is in your heart, or if it is in your mind, and you release it to our grandmother, and she will cleanse this. And you ask her to light your path out of the darkness, to pull yourself out of the corruption of male dominance, and to come back into the light of our mother, back into the truth. You share these ceremonies. What you will do is you will gather your women in a circle, and the woman that initiates will be the speaker, and she will set the stage, and she will do the opening, and she is to inform everyone of what you are here for, that you are here to give thanks to the ancient bloodline of our mothers from Sky Woman, she who has given us spirit, to our grandmother Moon, she who has given us blood, to our Mother Earth, she who gives us body, and to all the women from the newest born baby girl, as it is they who carry the sacred title of life giver into this world, and it is they that give us direction. And you speak these very words to all the people gathered, to your sons. Let your little boys grow up hearing this way of speaking in the world, where they will speak not of woman, but they will speak of life giver. And they will know that they are not man, that they are life protector. By you showing them your moons, which the male was afraid of in the first place. You will teach them how to give thanks and how to make sacred once again that which we have forgotten. And your little boys will grow to be men that will speak of their mothers and that will honor their mothers, and that will put their mothers above them. Because they will know this is the only way to have truth. And first and foremost, you will move without fear. You must remove the fear out of you, or you will never start walking. Eventually, you will find yourself at our council fire. And when this happens, if you make it there, then you can sit amongst the people. Until then, it is you that has to do the work. I pledge to you, as I pledged to my grandmother last night, that I will do my work. I do not stop, day or night. We go 24 hours a day here. So this is what we will do together. Walk proud. You are the authority. Walk with that certainty in this world. Show this to your sons. Do not show the weakness and the corruption of what religion shows to your children of you. So we do this together. If there is anything else, any other question?
Yes, on the
Speak, so you can unmute your microphone now.
That is something left over from the last ceremony, and that is you were speaking about wolf, bear, and turtle in in comparison with electrons, neutrons, and positrons, I think it was, and I didn't get that part. What do they have to do? What makes the what is the link? I didn't get that. Second question, but then as the first go step by step. Okay.
But the answer to that, like I said, is a very big answer. And this is the French version of the book that we put out last year that explains the turtle, wolf, and bear concept. And but for right now, I'll try to put you in a nutshell. Knowing that all things are a repeat of the stage before it. If I start out on my journey, I take the first step, second, and everything is a repeat. I don't take one step and then the next step is something erratic, you know, maybe a jump, and then another step. It's all a repeat. So what took place in one is happening in two also. Two is happening, but one is also happening inside of two. Because two is duplicating one. So they are all repetitive cycles. Now when we start at the very beginnings, we'll just say the very beginning of absolutely everything. The beginning of the universe. So the first thing that happened there, in how physical matter was brought together, there is law to that. That the way that it was brought together, that's the law. You have to follow, the second step has to follow the first one.
paso tiene que seguir el primero.
So let's say at the very beginnings, the very first bit of something
Lo primero,
out of nothing.
de algo que viene de la nada.
Imagine the first time our mother
Primera vez que nuestra madre,
had to pull all the nothings together.
todos los nadas,
Nothings, nothings, nothings. All pulled together and put together
y poner todo junto
to create
para crear
the first molecule,
la primera molécula, por ejemplo.
the first whatever.
La primera molécula.
Well, the second one is built the same way.
Segundo, está construido
It's actually built
de hecho
out of the first one.
fuera del primero, a partir del primero. Digo.
The second one
El segundo
may look different,
puede que se vea diferente,
but it's built
pero está con
exactly the same way as the first one
la misma forma que el primero.
and out of the first one.
Y a partir del primero.
Like my mother, there's features you can see
Madre,
of my mother in my face,
rasgos de mi madre en
but I'm different.
otro, pero soy diferente.
So,
Entonces,
when you go all the way back to the very beginnings,
al inicio,
if you want to call it
si quieren llamar
protons, neutrons, and electrons, forming the first molecule or atom or whatever, we don't call it that.
no lo llamamos así.
We don't refer to things,
Referimos las cosas,
living things,
las cosas vivientes
in an inanimate way.
de una forma inanimada.
That's the corruption of male dominance,
La corrupción de la dominación
and which substantiates
que da sustancia
the corruption
a la corrupción
of male
de
dominance
la dominación masculina
and perpetuates its violence.
actúa su violencia.
So, the turtle, wolf, and bear
Tortuga, el lobo y el oso
is our knowledge of
es
creation.
nuestro conocimiento de la creación.
These are living things.
Estas son cosas vivientes,
These are powerful creatures.
son criaturas poderosas.
And when you know
Y cuando ustedes
what the role of the wolf is,
del lobo,
and what the bear is,
del oso
and the turtle,
y de la tortuga,
and then you will know exactly how protons, neutrons, and electrons conduct themselves.
los electrones,
Exactly how
exactamente
they act
como actúan
in relation
en relación
to each other.
con nosotros.
Law.
La ley,
There is law.
hay ley.
The only thing that is forgotten law
La cosa que ha sido olvidada
is man,
es el hombre,
the non-native man.
el hombre no indígena.
When he started his corruption of male dominance,
Comenzó su corrupción de la dominación masculina.
he became completely
Se
lawless.
volvió completamente alguien sin ley.
When he created his gods and his religions, his lawlessness became an all-out war,
Se volvió una guerra completa.
first upon our mother,
Ras
of turtle, wolf, and bear,
de la tortuga, el lobo,
in protons, neutrons, and electrons.
protones, neutrones y electrones.
The turtle
La tortuga
is the owner of the house.
es la dueña de la casa.
The bear
El oso
is the medicine,
es la medicina,
the deliberator.
los deliberadores.
The wolf
El lobo
is the initiator.
es el iniciador.
It is the one that presents all business.
Es quien presenta todos los asuntos.
The wolf never sleeps.
Nunca duerme.
The bear hibernates.
El oso va a hibernar.
The bear
El
is
oso
the medicine,
es la medicina,
is close
está cerca
to our grandmother.
a nuestra abuela.
The medicines come from the moon,
Las medicinas vienen de
through the waters.
a través de las aguas.
The turtle
La tortuga
is the owner of this house.
es la dueña de esta casa.
We sit upon the turtle's back.
Y estamos
And from that turtle,
la espalda, el cara.
you will learn patience.
Y a través de ella se aprende.
You will learn how to sit and wait,
Se va a aprender cómo sentarse y esperar.
not just hours
No por horas,
or days or years.
días, por años.
You will learn how to be patient
Cómo ser pacientes
over generations,
durante generaciones.
because your identity
Porque su identidad
will be complete
va a ser completa.
You will not lose any identity from generation to generation.
No van a perder ninguna identidad de generación a generación.
When you have this knowledge of turtle, wolf, and bear,
Ese conocimiento de la tortuga, el lobo y el oso,
you have knowledge of the universe.
tienen el conocimiento del universo.
And you can remember
Y pueden recordar
the knowledge
el conocimiento
of our grandmother Moon,
de nuestra abuela Luna.
because
Porque
she exists within this
ella
universe.
existe dentro de ese universo.
She is of it.
Ella es de ese
She is it.
Ella es el universo.
She has made us.
Ella nos ha hecho.
We can understand it.
Podemos entenderlo.
There is nothing in the universe
Nada en el universo
that is not understandable.
no sea entendible.
Only the corruption of the male dominant mind
La dominación masculina de su mente
makes things
hace que las cosas
not understandable.
no sean entendibles.
And therefore,
Y por lo tanto,
a peace unattainable.
hace que la paz no pueda ser alcanzada.
So through the knowledge
Entonces, a través
of the law,
de la ley,
you will learn
van a aprender
turtle, wolf, and bear.
la tortuga, el lobo y el oso.
You will learn their positions in this world.
Van a aprender sus posiciones en el
And you will find what your station is.
encontrar cuál es su posición.
And when you find your station
Y cuando encuentren su posición
and you take your place,
y ustedes tomen su lugar,
you will connect to your power.
van a conectar con su poder.
And then
Y entonces
you will be unstoppable.
van a ser completamente imparables.
Any other questions?
Question? Go ahead.
Yeah, it has something to do with the water. The water has a special position within this whole, within the whole, the relationship of how Grandmother Moon and Mother Earth and our eldest brother the Sun are connected, and in the way they are connected through our blood. And so my question is, then the water is like a transporter of informations. So when is the water is female, and so it carries out the informations, and at the same time it renews the informations. So the water has a special position inside this thing, inside the whole circle. Is it like that? I mean, and so does it has a certain, like, a mentality? Because we have a mentality that we can comprehend. So when I go and I take the water and I take the flow and I go with the live stream and with the blood, so it must be necessarily that the water carries on this point of live stream, my awareness, my consciousness, into all the living beings and shares it there. So whatever we sweat, or whatever we sweat out, and whatever we think and transform our water inside, our blood, shed it out, give it back to our Mother Earth, then it will go back into the bigger cycle. So, and will be, the information will be shared in this whole cycle.
It's realizing that there is no God, that we are. It is us. It happens through us. It happens to us. We are it. If we can create nuclear power, think of this. Let's put our minds back to 2,000 years ago on the technological level. So maybe the only technology we got is a wheel and maybe a stick. Now imagine from there, nuclear power, where we're able to tear apart what exists right here. It's floating right here. I can grab it
yo lo puedo agarrar
and I can tear it apart.
y puedo destruirlo.
I can break it down to protons, neutrons, and electrons.
Descomponerlo en electrones, protones,
And I can tear that family apart.
puedo deshacer esa familia.
Rip the protons apart from the electrons and apart from the neutrons. Rip them all apart. And then I can take one of them, I think it's the electron, I forget right now, and take it and throw it at the speed of light at its family. And when they hit, there's a mutual annihilation. Imagine from 2,000 years ago, just a wooden wheel, to the insanity, the corruption of nuclear power. Who can do that? Can monkeys do that? Can chickens? Or the cows that are made by men? There's only one mind that can do that. And when you think of that we are not creating or adding on to creation with that technology, we are destroying, diminishing. Let's say there was 1 million molecules. We start off with, we got 1 million molecules. A finite amount. And for nuclear power, we got to use one of those molecules. Well, we tear it apart, throw the family at each other head first, smash their heads to pieces, their brains get smashed all over, their hearts are broken, the family's destroyed. That energy, that molecule is gone after that. So now there's only 900,998 molecules. No one else, nothing else in all creation does that. Creation itself doesn't do that. They say nuclear power is what takes place in the sun. It's not true. It is a lie. Because the sun is conducive. It creates. It replenishes. Nuclear power stops. Stops the energy transfer. Nothing else in creation can do that. Creation itself doesn't do that. But we can do it. This should tell you something. God is a lie. If you want to believe in God, then believe in your mother. And listen to your mother. Talk to your mother. Spend time with her. You know what? Imagine if you could be with God all the time. Would you leave God in the morning to be in rush hour traffic and go sit in your jail cell? Or would you stay with God? And if you could be with God all the time, why would you get put on a school bus? Be taken away from God and placed into some brainwashing institution. No, you know what? If you knew that you had access to your God constantly 24 hours a day, and you can touch her, and you can communicate, and you can ask her questions, you would not leave her side. But you have. So what it tells you is that the concept of God is corruption. It is we.
Es nosotros.
We have the power.
Nosotros tenemos el poder.
Now there is two paths to power.
Y hay dos caminos al poder.
There is the path that clearly you can see the non-native world has taken. The path of corruption that destroys creation. And so, how we get our knowledge back, how we get our power back, how you will do what a woman will do, must do in this world, again, is first through re-establishing your moon ceremonies. Reconnecting to your knowledge, you will share with your children the truth of the moon teachings. You must populate this world with humans once again. The humans who will take that power, that can go either one of two ways. You can continue to follow the corruption of the path of the male dominance in the non-native world. Or you can blaze a trail that in order to get out of your house, a trail was blazed. Do you know how it was blazed? To get you out of your house? To get you out of your knowledge of the moon? That path was blazed with the blood, the lives of your great-grandmothers that were killed in the name of God for being witches. So you're going to reverse your steps to get back in your house, where you are in control, where no man will be able to violate you, where the role of the men are to protect you, not to do what is happening. Two paths. Which one? This is a question that every single person on earth, whether you know it or not, you are being forced to answer. And I will force you to answer that question. The question that you personally have been avoiding for thousands of years. I am going to force you to answer that question. Which path? Which path are you going to take? You are going to say, of course, what the obvious is. And you are all good people. Don't forget that this world has been full of good people for the last 2,000 years. All your ancestors were good. All the people right now in this world who are on the verge of war are all good people. What is it that corrupts a good person? Personally, I am very glad that I can't tell you. My mother has raised me right in this world. And I give my thanks to her. That I stand before you as testament to do what she brought me into this world to do. Again, to rid this world of male dominance. And if I am the one that is male dominant, then I say to you, then you must correct me. But to correct me means that you must become what is correct, free of corruption. So, is there any other question? Was there any more online? If not, we'll go to one in here.
On Zoom, anybody would like to ask a question?
Okay, we'll go to one in here for now then.
What is the difference between the woman who has her moon and when a woman gets older, she doesn't have her moon anymore? Regarding to the cycle of the moon, what does it change for her as a woman and for her in the society she's in?
She's washed up. What is she in this world? As it is in this world, like we said, you women are crying for equality with men. Any woman who does that, I'll tell you to your face, you are stupid. You are a stupid woman if you are asking for equality. Again, what you must do is demand that your men pulls their heads out of their rear end, climb up the evolutionary ladder to be equal with you, to show that they are capable to be around women. And the only way they are capable is to be free of male dominance, free of the corruption of war. But the reality, I'll just expand on this a bit. You think of this, and this is going to hurt you. It's going to hurt you. It's going to hurt everybody in the world. But you examine this, and you tell me if this is not true. I'll just go back to World War II. Everybody in this world knows that there was a baby boom after World War II. And they're called baby boomers. Everybody thinks that war thins out the herd. Thins out the herd, eliminates people. How many people were killed in World War II? If we think of, say, just the Jewish people who were murdered in the concentration camps, we could say 6 million there. How many other millions of people were killed in actual fighting in war? I don't know really the statistics. I think it's somewhere under 10 million? I don't know. Maybe more. But anyways, let's look at the population of the world prior to World War II. And look at the population after World War II. Does war actually kill off people? No. What is the purpose that war serves? War is a gathering of energy. And who's gathering that energy? The corruption. The male that wants to destroy everything. So you look at the population growth since World War II. You know those who are called baby boomers? Don't call yourself baby boomers. You are not baby boomers. You know what you are? You are war babies. Bred out of war. That's what baby boomers are. And when you go to World War I, or every other war, which in the non-native world is non-stop. You think, especially young people today, you think that we've been relatively free of war. Only a crazy person who is isolated from the truth of what's happening on earth would think that we've been free of war. Because the fact is that the only thing that's existed for the last couple of thousand years in a non-native world is war. 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 This is your reality. And so, every war creates a population explosion. And the next generation does the exact same thing as the one before it. Think of this. World War I. Everybody called it at that time, the Great War. The war to end all wars. But what did the generation that were born out of that war do? War. They done World War II. They done Korea. They done Vietnam. They done everything right up until now where you're constantly in a state of war. So the reality of war is that it doesn't limit, it doesn't diminish the amount of people. It actually exponentializes the population growth. So, that's one reason for you to stop war, because it creates an overpopulation on the earth. But at the same time, that population that it creates, it corrupts you. Then you're never good. It's impossible for you to be good. I don't care how good you think you are. Maybe you've never murdered anybody. Maybe you've never robbed a bank. Maybe you've never stole a pack of bubble gum. Maybe you were good to everybody. But you know what? If you are in a corrupt society that wages war, and you're disagreeing with it or saying that I'm good, you just don't know the reality of who and what you are. So, what the heck was the question?
The difference between the women that still have their moon versus
Still has their moon. Is that through all of this, knowing that war is expanding, exponentializing, how could a woman possibly in this world fulfill her role? So as your question is, what happens to her and all of that, like we said earlier, she becomes lost to obscurity. Or maybe now she ends up working in McDonald's when she's 70 years old. Like you tell me that is not a travesty, that is not corruption. Where our elders are doing what people who are teenagers, what they start off doing? Corruption. Anyways, in the natural cycle, if it was natural, well then the women who come out of their moons as they get older, well then you are filling the role of clan mother. This is where clan mothers come from. Clan mothers do not come from young girls that are having children being mothers, because they do not know of the world yet. The clan mothers are the ones that have grown through this world, that have had their moons, have lived through all of this reality, and then maybe become grandmothers, or not necessarily even had to have a child. But to get through that, by being with the people, living within the cycles of the ceremonies, by enforcing their power, their law within creation, that woman, when she becomes what is today looked down upon, while she's having her, what do they call it? Menopause. Menopause. Yeah. I knew a woman, she said, an older lady, she said to us, she says, maybe the other women, but she says, you know what? She says, my men don't pause. So, you know what? A matrilineal woman, her men do not pause. We do not stop. But a woman that leaves her moon, goes into menopause in this world, where does she go? What happens to her? In the natural world, this is where you become superpower. You become superpower. This is what the male is so terrified about. Because your superpower can bring sense to anything. Not that you will bring the sense, but by your power and your energy working with the male the way it's supposed to, we will receive your truth, and we will be able to affect your truth into this world. But the way that the world is right now, the corruption has men, not listening to you at all. And so therefore, the men of this world are not doing anything in this world that they are supposed to be doing. What they are doing instead is war. And when they war, they make you have more babies. So what is that? That means more rape. That means more oppression. You get locked into a vicious cycle. You are currently locked into a vicious cycle that began upon you thousands of years ago. And because it was never addressed, now you have something from thousands of years ago troubling you psychologically and physically all around you that you have no clue of what to do about it, how to stop it, how to turn this thing around. Together, we're going to turn it around. I'm going to do what my mother put me in this world to do. And we are going to rid this world of the lie and corruption of male dominance. And if you are not there, if the women of this world are not there to do it, then I am going to do it. And I'll guarantee you that you are not going to like what I am going to do. So what are you going to do? Do it. You know the emergency is there. It was there for a long time. You have been actionless. You have not done a damn thing. And I will tell you that what you hear in my voice is not just my voice. This is the fed upness of the people. This is the fed upness of the land itself, of our mother. She has had it. We have had it with all the corruption of the male dominance that has been brought here from around the world to destroy the peace, the Gayandawana, of the thousands of years of human technology that it took for us to accomplish it here. If you feel like I am scolding you, good. But I will guarantee you that it is not enough. Anyways, other questions, or if not, we got to go into the response. Okay, there's one more here.
Yeah, I just about the bear and the turtle and the wolf. I just didn't quite get what you said about the turtle and the wolf, the turtle and the bear, but not the wolf. I didn't get the wolf.
Okay, the wolf is the initiator.
Yeah.
The wolf, like within the Kanienkehaka.
Like he named the turtle the planet, and the bear the moon. But what's the wolf?
The wolf is the initiator. So when we go to the beginnings of what we talked about today, we initiated from creation. It was initiated from here. The new moon, the first blood that pumped out of the heart, was initiated from this point, but what started it was the spirit, the interaction, the heat between the sun and the moon. This is where you will find the wolf. You will find that the wolf, again, never sleeps. The bear hibernates. The wolf is out, day and night, all seasons. And its purpose is to make your life the best that it can be. This is the reason why in the non-native world, the male created corrupt stories of the big bad wolf, so everybody would fear the wolf and they would kill the wolf, the initiator of health in the world. But within the Kanienkehaka, there's a lot more to this, but you'll understand. I'll just start from the council process. The council process is we begin from direction. The direction of first you'll see that the symbolage of the Five Nations Confederacy is in the in this box that Anik made for me. There's truth here. Does anybody know what the truth is? You're not gonna know. It's impossible for you to know. But you could learn. Thought we had some theme music there for a minute. I was going into the singing part. Okay, here. This direction. Can anybody tell me what this is?
These are the 5 Iroquois Confederacy, the Kanienkehaka.
It's the Five Nations.
Yeah, the 5 nations.
Okay, within the Five Nations, you have the Onondaga, you have the Oneida, the Cayuga, the Seneca, and the Mohawk, the Kanienkehaka. Now I told you those out of order for a very specific reason, so that you wouldn't just guess. On here, where are the Onondagas? In the middle. So from here, where are the Kanienkehaka?
I know it's the east door, so
Es la puerta del este, entonces.
is it over there?
It's to the east.
Yeah.
Es hacia el este.
But
Pero
you have 2 directions to you.
tienen 2 direcciones en ustedes.
Well, you got 4 directions. You got forwards and backwards.
Tienen adelante
And then
y atrás.
you have, okay, 6. Up, down, forwards, backwards. But I'm talking about when you're looking at a flat object such as this,
Un objeto,
there's only one of 2 ways you can go.
solamente
Directions. So,
una dirección.
which direction
Entonces,
are the Kanienkehaka?
están los Kanienkehaka.
Which direction?
Well, the east would be where the sun rises, so it depends where you are.
Okay, you got it right.
And
The east is where the Kanienkehaka are. And you just said it depends where you are.
yeah,
So it does depend upon perception. So the way to keep your perception in this world and in the universe, no matter where you are in the universe, because direction is universal. And I'll explain this to you right now. Anybody who has ever had a baby,
Alguien que ha tenido un bebé,
any woman
cualquier mujer
who was ever pregnant,
que ha estado embarazada,
you know
ustedes saben
that a baby in your belly for approximately 7 moons is in like pretty much an upright position.
en una posición
Pretty much upright.
de pie, de
Its head up, facing up.
su cabecita está.
But we know
Pero sabemos
that in the 7th moon,
en la séptima luna,
7th and a half moon,
en la séptima y
the
media
baby
luna, el bebé
turns upside down.
se va a volver.
There's not a mother who has ever had to tell their
No hay
baby,
una
it's
madre
time for you to turn upside down.
de su bebé, "Hey,
No,
tienes que
the
verlo".
baby knows.
El bebé lo sabe.
Why? How does the baby know?
¿Y cómo lo sabe el bebé?
Wasn't communicated. Maybe the father snuck in and told him? Told the baby? No.
¿Le dijo? No.
The baby knows.
El bebé lo sabe.
How?
¿Cómo?
Through the turtle, wolf, and
A
bear.
través de la cultura.
It's a science symbol.
Es un símbolo de ciencias.
It tells you
Y les dice
about things.
acerca de las cosas.
It doesn't just tell you about
Y no solamente
where the Onondagas are.
es donde se encuentran los
It
Onondagas.
tells you from the Onondagas
A partir de los Onondagas,
the direction of up.
la dirección de arriba.
And that's not to mean what direction up is. Of course, everybody would say, up is right there.
Todo el mundo diría arriba
No.
hacia allá, pero no.
Up on the planet.
En el planeta
There is a top of our planet.
hay un arriba del planeta.
And I'll tell you that you in the non-native world
Los indígenas
have it exactly backwards, upside down. This is your way to understand,
pueden entenderlo.
without even looking at this.
Sin ni siquiera ver esto,
The Mohawks
Los Mohawks
are always
siempre están
on the left.
a la izquierda.
Always.
Siempre.
That will give you direction.
Eso les va a dar dirección.
It'll give you up, down,
Les va a dar
forwards, backwards, left or right. It'll teach you how to triangulate. It'll teach you how to six-angulate if you're in the universe, in space. Because as you know, you need 6 points in space of which to get your bearings from. And science today, as we know, they use quasars for this. We don't have to use quasars. Quasars are way out there in space. Here we are. Babies can determine which direction up and down is. So you know what? Science is pretty dumb. If they have to look way out there to figure out something right here. So anyways, the Mohawks are always on the left. The Onondagas are in the center. The Mohawks are the foundation of the Confederacy. This is a blueprint of a human being. There is so much to it that, of course, we don't have the time to explain it all to you right now. But you had to work how many thousands of man hours? Hundreds of thousands? How many hundreds of thousands of dollars in corruption you had to put into, and hundreds and thousands of years you had to invest into creating a model of the human genome? When it's right here. It's in this. This will tell you how a human is made. It tells you the proper way how to make a human. It tells you how the world is divided into female and male. And who is the first. It tells you everything. So much so that it gets us to the point of where now we are the last ones able to convey to you the teachings of our grandmother Moon. It's not because we've forgotten about that. It's because everyone else has forgotten. Okay, so anyways, I don't know now. I think I went off the track of that question. What was the question?
We are almost at 3:30.
What was the question?
What is the role of
the wolf.
The role of the wolf. Okay.
Well, I think
This is where it was getting to. The wolf
Aquí es a donde venía, donde quería llegar. Al lobo.
is the Mohawk.
No, es el mojo.
It's the Kanienkehaka. The wolf is the initiator. The wolf knows everything that's going on the body of our mother. Because the wolf pack is out there all the time. Not just one wolf, because it's impossible for that one wolf to be awake constantly. But the wolf pack is awake constantly. And there's nothing that gets by the wolf pack. So the wolf pack knows exactly what's out there, knows exactly what is corruption, knows exactly how to go after it, and exactly how to remove it, or how to change it, how to absorb it. So the wolf does this, and the wolf is within the molecular structure. It's the proton, neutron, electron. You'll find it in there. But like I said, to go into all of that, it is a whole big area where we did go over this, join the law recital, and just to put things into perspective for you, the law recital last summer took 26 days from morning till night to carry out. And the law recital consists of the creation story, how our Mother Earth was created, how the land was formed, where the land grew from, where the people grew from. The creation story talks about the in-between times, something that is so important that you are unaware of the in-between spaces. Not just the in-between times, but the in-between spaces. Because if you're unaware of it, then somebody can slip in between those spaces without you being aware and make adjustments to you without you being aware. So, the law recital spoke of that, of the creation story. It speaks of the DNA of our Mother Earth. We actually show you now using Google Maps. We can show you the DNA on our Mother Earth. And we can show you where the corruption of male dominance broke the DNA and brought that corruption over across the Bering Strait into what today is the opposite polarity, the so-called Europe. Anyways, it teaches all that stuff. It teaches about the formation of the League of Peace. It teaches the laws, the great law of peace. Where you could say, you can hear me saying, great law of peace. And you'll say, law, ooh, what's the law? You know, what is it? Is it just talk? Is it just living in peace? No. There is an articulation as to the conduct of every human being on the planet, as to how you are to conduct yourself in relation to the different different levels of existence, we'll say, where you have a certain way of interaction and communicating with your friends. You have a certain way of communicating, interacting with your family, with your co-workers, with the people that you hang out with. Different way of interaction with your mother and father, with your grandparents. Each level, there's different levels of interaction. There is law articulated to every person as to how they are conduct themselves on each of those levels. But in this world, you only know of, well, there's a cop, there's a policeman that's going to tell you what the laws are, and that when he comes to enforce these laws upon you, that is always a violation of your rights. That there is no law. You can think yous are countries of laws, but you can take a so-called corruption like Canada, so-called Canada, that likes to fancy itself as a country of laws. Does a country of laws create nuclear power? Does a country of laws kidnap children? Does a country of laws slap a rapist on the hand and allow him to be on the street, able to intimidate you and live even right next to his victim? Is that a country of laws? If anything else, at the very least, today, you will see that your perception of things is upside down, completely backwards. You will be offended. I will say many things that you will be offended by. I don't care if I offend you. I'm not concerned about that. I am not out to make friends. Anybody that knows me knows that I do not need friends to do what we are doing. What I need is allies. Not somebody who's going to be my friend, and if I am corrupt, they're going to overlook my corruption. That is not a friend. Allies. Allied in truth. And that way, when I see you moving outside of that truth, I'm bound by law to correct you. Not like a cop pull you over and give you a ticket. No, but to speak to you as a human being with compassion and to remind you of your original instruction. which is your law,
que es su lengua,
which is what we do now.
que es lo que estamos haciendo en este momento.
We are just in a process
Estamos en un proceso
of reminding you.
de recordarles.
Next, the next thing
Y la próxima cosa
is where law will be asserted upon you.
es en donde la ley va a ser ejercida sobre ustedes.
Because right now,
Porque en este momento
you are receiving something
ustedes están recibiendo algo
that I know
que yo sé
that you are not going to comprehend what it is.
que no van a comprender.
And when you do not take action on
Y
this,
cuando ustedes no hacen una acción sobre ello,
that will verify
que va a verificar
that you do not comprehend what you are hearing.
que ustedes no están comprendiendo lo que están escuchando.
And that will enact
Y eso va a hacer
me,
que yo
because
exista.
I am assessing.
Porque estoy determinando
This is all we are doing.
si es lo que estamos haciendo.
We are assessing.
Estamos determinando.
It's like being in the triage of a hospital.
Es como estar en el centro de triaje
And here comes in the patients.
y vienen los pacientes.
And we got to assess.
Y tenemos que determinar.
No life in this one.
No hay vida en este,
No life in that one.
no hay vida en este.
Maybe a little bit of pulse.
Tal vez un poquito de pulso aquí,
Put them on the side,
ponlo de lado,
but they are not the priority.
pero no son la prioridad.
We are looking for the ones with a heartbeat.
Tenemos que ir a buscar a aquellos que tienen un latido del corazón.
These are the ones.
Estos son los verdaderos.
And those with a heartbeat,
Y aquellos que tienen un latido del corazón,
you will know
ustedes van a saber,
because it's inside.
porque está dentro.
And this is where we communicate to you.
Y es ahí donde comunicamos.
I have stayed here
Yo he permanecido aquí,
in my station,
en mi estación.
regardless of what the entire world has thrown at me.
Pero me ha aventado.
I have refused to leave the path of my mother.
El camino de mi madre.
Stayed in my station.
Y me he quedado en mi estación.
What about you?
¿Y qué ha pasado con ustedes?
If I have to do this,
Si yo tengo que hacer esto,
you have to.
ustedes también.
Or are you special?
O ustedes son especiales.
I don't think you are.
No creo que lo sean.
If you are special,
Si lo son,
you are going to show us
nos lo van a demostrar.
that you stand out from the rest,
Que sobresalen del resto.
that you don't accept
Y que no
the corruption,
aceptan la corrupción.
that you will find your way out of this shithole.
Su camino fuera de este basurero.
You take your place.
Ustedes afirman su lugar.
And like I said, then one day,
Y como les dije, tal vez un día,
maybe
tal vez,
you will find yourself at our council fire.
ustedes van a poderse encontrar aquí en nuestro foro.
So from here, what was any other questions in here? If not, we go on to the,
Vamos a ir
any questions on the internet? If not, then we'll move into the response. Is an accumulation of a 10,000-year journey.
10,000 años.
And it is identified as the White Road.
Identificado como el camino blanco.
It's the journey of the corn.
Es el viaje del maíz.
And I don't know if you could see this here
Lo pueden ver aquí,
on this globe,
en este globo,
but the journey of the corn
el camino del maíz
started here
empezó aquí,
in so-called
en así llamado
South America,
América del Sur,
Turtle Island.
la isla de la tortuga.
And that corn journeyed
Y ese maíz viajó
all the way to where we are today.
hasta aquí donde estamos en el momento.
This is who I am.
Este es quien yo soy.
I am not what you may think, Mohawk, from here, today, that's it. No.
Eso es todo, ¿no?
Like we said,
Como dijimos,
in creation, everything's a repeat of the cycle before.
repetición del ciclo
So, from 1 to 10,
de 1 a 10,
every step has 1.
todo camino tiene 1.
If you're step 10,
Si usted tiene el camino
you have 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 in you.
9, 8, 7, 3, 5, 4,
If you are step 2,
y tiene espacio 2,
you have step 2 and step 1 inside of you. But within step 2 and step 1, since it is not as defined as to go all the way to step 10 yet, it has within it all these other steps, but not as defined. It isn't as articulated. So, for me to exist here right now today in Kanienkehaka territory of Kahnawake, I had to first be all of this, all my ancestors, which you know today as Mapuche, as Wayu, as Hopi, as all the people, all the way through. These are my people. This is my identity. You will find bits and pieces. You will find step 1 in step 10. You will find step 2 in step 10. Step 3, step 4, step 10, 9, all the way. You'll find it in step 10. But you know what you will not find? Articulated in step 1. You will not find step 10. But it's there. It's the seed that can grow. But it is not growing to be. It must stay step 2. In order for me to exist, all these other steps must remain in place. I will tell you something about what happened to all these steps here, to all these people. And it's no great mystery. It's something that you know. People from the rest of the entire world came here to rape and to steal. They're pirates. And when those pirates came here to so-called South America, you know what they did? I don't have to tell you. I could hold the mirror up to your face. But only you are going to tell me how ugly you have become. I will still respect you and talk to you. Doesn't mean I will listen. Because if there's no truth, there's nothing to listen to. But what was done here is the complete corruption, a complete loss of knowledge because of the corruption of Christianity. The killer Christians came in and killed, you know, millions, virtually millions. And think of this, for the equivalent of, like today, if you've seen children maybe playing together, and one would do a simple little thing like maybe not hit the other one, but just disrespect them in some way, and get your hand cut off for that. So imagine what the person cutting off that hand, those killer Christians, imagine why they empowered themselves to kill people in order to steal. To steal what? What did we have? Well, we know that it's the land, it's the environment, it's matrilineal, it's peace. But most of all, it is something that you don't consider. Because the entire world has not known anything of truth for the last 500 years. No matter what you say, you do not know one bit of truth for over 500 years. I know everything about you. You've been having war babies
bebés de guerra
for thousands of years.
por miles de años.
And you send your war babies over here.
Y mandaron a sus bebés de guerra para acá.
You're corrupt.
Están corrompidos.
You think men are corrupt?
¿Ustedes creen que los hombres son corruptos?
Women are corrupt.
Son las mujeres las que están corrompidas.
Become women.
Vuélvanse mujeres.
And we will fight to the death for you.
Y vamos a luchar hasta la muerte por
We will stand against anything for you.
Vamos a levantarnos contra todo por ustedes.
It's easy to say.
Es fácil decirlo.
Do I make it up?
¿Lo intento?
Or is it actually playing out right in front of your
¿O es
eyes?
algo que está sucediendo realmente enfrente de sus ojos?
This is what we will do for you,
Esto es lo que vamos a hacer
our
por
mothers.
nuestras madres.
What in turn will our mothers do to protect their sons?
Las madres a su vez para proteger a sus hijos.
Because if I have to go out and do this,
Porque si tengo que hacer esto,
compromise my own health and welfare,
de mi propia salud y bienestar,
my own safety,
mi propia seguridad,
for you,
por ustedes,
what are you going to do in turn?
¿qué van a hacer ustedes en intercambio?
I happen to know the truth of history.
La verdad de la historia.
You may want to be good people,
Y puede que ustedes quieran ser buena gente,
but I look at your history.
pero vean su verdad, su historia,
There's nothing you can say to me.
y no hay nada que me puedan decir.
My mother will tell you.
Mi madre es la que les va a decir.
And if you think
Y si ustedes creen
any of the words
algunas
that I am speaking are wrong,
son falsas,
that it is not my mother's voice,
son la voz de mi madre,
our mother's voice,
de nuestras madres,
then you should shut your computer off right now, and you who are here should walk out of this building right now.
apagar la computadora y quien está aquí debe de salir de este edificio en este momento.
Okay, here we are. What was that question again? Let me see.
About the water, giving the moon to the water.
Okay, the water, yeah, okay. On that level, I say to you, after establishing all of this,
Entonces,
the corruption of the male mind, and how that poison has come here and corrupted all of our minds, I can't see
no puedo ver
how any man
que algún
is going to say to you,
te va a decir
is going to say of any woman,
de a cualquier mujer,
don't put your blood into the water.
pongas tu sangre en la
water be dirty.
Where are you going to put your blood?
¿En dónde vas a poner tu
Where can you put it where there is not water? If you put it into the earth, that's water.
si la pones en la
If you
tierra?
try to devise a way to leave it right here in the air,
Y en el aire.
it's water.
Es agua.
It sounds like
Suena como que
somebody's mind
la mente de alguien
has been corrupted by male dominance.
corrompida por la dominación masculina.
And you know what?
¿Y sabes qué?
All my people
Toda mi gente,
are all a bunch of Christians.
todos se volvieron un paquete de cristianos.
They have all left their identity.
Todos dejaron su propia identidad.
They all have this influence.
Y todos tienen ahora esta influencia.
Even when they are speaking,
Inclusive cuando
when they are beginning to give thanks in an opening.
empezando a dar gracias en una apertura.
I speak now to the woman who asked this question.
Y ahora le hablo a la mujer que hizo esta pregunta.
Did you experience this?
¿Tú experimentaste esto?
Even when the men were talking
Inclusive cuando los hombres
and they gave reference
y dan referencia
to Creator or God,
al Creador o a Dios,
did they say male?
dijeron no.
Was it a male reference?
Era una referencia más
That's my question to you right now to go further in this answer.
en este momento para poder ir más allá en esta respuesta.
You're going to speak Laguna de la Luna.
Can you repeat the question, please?
When you heard these males, even when they were just speaking, maybe doing an opening or just speaking in ceremony, when they gave reference to God or Creator? Did they refer to God or Creator as male?
But they, it's crazy. They reference to the mother.
Ellos se
You know?
refieren a la madre.
Yeah, that was the reference. But they told me that
Dijeron que
mother doesn't like that you put your blood in the water, like in the ocean or in the river.
o en un río.
Yeah. And they told me like you can't get into the water when you're in moon.
No puedes ir al agua cuando estás en tu mundo.
But this is a place where
Este es un lugar en donde
they try to reconnect women
tratan
with
de
their moon.
reconectar a
So
la mujer con
I don't
sus
know,
lunas.
but
Entonces, no sé.
I feel that it's like
Siento que es como
they're in Spanish is el machismo. I don't know how to
lo
say
que
it in
decimos en
English.
español es machismo.
Yeah.
What's much
I understand. I understand what you're saying. And that machismo, that male dominance, that comes from and is rooted in religion. It comes from the religions that come from across the great waters, from the non-native world. Okay, anyways, on this, it basically comes down to this. What makes sense to you? Common sense. You ask me, any woman ask me what you could do with your blood, I'm gonna say, hey, what are you asking me for? You're the woman. You tell me what you can do with your blood. I know some of the things that you can do with it. I know how you can use it as a medicine. I know how you can use it as protection of your house. I know how you mothers can use it to protect your children when they are going to be in precarious situations. Imagine, you mothers, you carried your children in your belly. You protected them. You kept them safe from the world. Do you think you cannot do that after they're out of your belly? Of course you can. What do you think your power is? Your power is that. Is a man going to tell you how you can use your power? I will tell you, use your power. I will tell you, you're not using your power. Connect with your power. But once you got your power, I'm not going to tell you that, wait a minute, yeah, no, you're using it wrong or whatever, or you can't do this or you can't do that. You tell me where you can put your blood. Because again, correct me if I'm wrong, we are 100% water. Despite what the male dominant says, that we're 74% water. Well, what's the other stuff inside of us made out of? Where did it come from? When we go all the way back through creation process, we see that it all comes from the amniotic fluid of the great body of Sky Woman herself. She is the great spiral of creation. And from her, all things have grown. From that water. And that water is everywhere, in all things. That's my answer to that question. Now, it's response time. What you are going to respond to, I don't know. You are being given a quiz. It's like being in school throughout the year. What did you learn? Now you must respond. Okay, so what we will do is we will take one from the response from the internet and one from here.
À commencer par Grand-mère Lune,
Starting with Grandma Moon,
Grand-maman, Mère Terre,
Grandma
Femme Ciel, Femme Médecine et mes sœurs les étoiles. Toutes ces femmes, elles ont construit pour moi un chemin qui m'a permis de transcender la vie que j'ai eue.
I made different experience in Indian country, in the so-called Indian country, when they were making differences between the races, and when they went to a certain extent in sharing the knowledge, and then they say, well, you're just white, you know, you don't belong to us, you don't belong to us, and it gives me a sense of belonging again, and the Moon teachings, and it gives me a sense of belonging to the circle and to the circle of life. And throughout the last weeks, I was like Elvira said, that we were outside and watching Grandmother Moon, and it's like I get a different feeling for her, because it's like a different awareness, or it's like a feeling that I can see her, I can sense it in a different way, and I can feel the presence, and that is something which has been changing, so that is stronger. And the relations that you've talked about between the sun, the eldest brother's son, how it continues with its relation to Grandmother Moon and to the earth, and the circle, the rotation with the expansion and the contraction. Okay. It picture, I can, when I go out, and then I can just picture it, and so I follow the cycle. And since the problem of the water, or of the subject, if water has consciousness or not, and that brought a different awareness to this process, and it brought a different understanding, and a better understanding on how the Grandmother Moon is involved in it, and how she really transfers the water and carries the water and replenishes the water from one state of the moon, of the face of the moon, to the other side of the earth, to the other side of the earth, and then when all the water, when it will be replenished, then it will have an impact on Grandmother, on Mother Earth again, and replenishes the life on Earth itself. So it's like this contraction and this expansion and this coming in and coming out, that is something which doesn't end in the rotation of the Grandmother Moon going around in circles around the Earth, but it expands directly on Mother Earth. So it's like when this expansion and and the opposite, then it's like the Mother Earth itself follows the movements. It just follows the movements, and so I get a better understanding of how we ourselves are connected with Mother Earth. And sometimes the Earth, that's my extended body. So when the Earth is my extended body, then I should be able to communicate or to build up some kind of communicate with the moon through the cycles and through the water which flows through us and which carries us. And it was like, okay, well, I mean, that's the live stream, so I'm part of this live stream, and it doesn't matter if I will die tomorrow or something, because in my blood, in my water, there will be something else, there will be something different than before, let's say, December, or when we met, I don't know, when we had the first moon ceremony online, so that keeps on going. And I know it's not only, I mean, I don't want to repeat all the steps. It's a cognitive input, so I can go from an intellectual state, and I'm not going to repeat it. But that's a kind of reflection of how that process, and it's a ceremonial process, so I know it will take time. It will kind of make a cause a shift, and so I don't know where it will end, but it doesn't matter, because that is that when I think when I will find to get a better understanding of the great law of peace and how all those things are connected, then we as we are together, or as a circle with my friends, then it will kind of evaporate through my pores or whatever, and it will have an impact to the ones I talk to. And when I die, then I will have a different identity. And with that identity, then I don't know what's going on then, but and what helped, that was that the part of the ancestors and the female ancestors, because there was a kind of, I was afraid of getting into the subject of the ancestors, because I know there were so many hurts, there were death and there were murder stories and all that stuff. So I'm still kind of working on that issue, and I don't know how to bring it out in a ceremony, or how to address that properly. But that will come later, so I will go from here. And yeah.
Hi, Melsa, daughter of Lison, granddaughter of Leah. I want to thank Sky Woman because of the spirit. She gives the spirit of all things. I want to thank Grandma Moon for the water and the blood, for regulating the waters of everybody. And I want to thank Mother Earth for giving me my body and the body of all things, and then all the spirit and my ancestry and my bloodline and all the medicine too. And what I want to answer, because it's about Grandma Moon, and I made research about everything I could find on her.
Les 4 bébés ont marché vers moi. Elle regarde toute sa fierté de mère, nous a révélé à quel point elle les aimait et à quel point elle nous faisait confiance. De nous exposer comme ça, ces beaux trésors. Alors, je réfléchis depuis
Entonces reflexiono
plusieurs années
desde hace varios años
parce que j'ai pas eu d'enfant.
porque no tuve hijos.
Est-ce que je suis à côté de la femme que je devrais
Estoy
être?
como al lado de la mujer que yo debería ser.
Et aujourd'hui, j'ai une révélation. Merci,
Tuve
Stuart.
una revelación y gracias, Stuart,
Parce que
porque
j'arrive dans le clan
llego al clan
des mères,
de madres
sans enfants,
sin hijos,
mais avec tout un bagage
pero con todo un equipaje
de matrilinéarité
de maternidad
et de féminité.
y de feminidad.
Et
Y
j'ai une mission.
tengo una misión
Et je la fais déjà depuis 5 ans et même
y
au-delà.
la hago desde hace 5 años.
Le cerveau produit des images d'une beauté extraordinaire. Et j'ai compris que c'était mon cerveau qui avait ce pouvoir de création.
Kanienkehaka